Sir Frank, welcome to Kurdistan. I'm glad to have this interview with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You just came back from Shingal. This is your first visit to Shingal. I just want to ask, what's your impression? What have you seen there?
The impression is that I saw different things. On the one hand, I saw some people who said, okay, the security situation is quite better. I saw some houses rebuilt, some public spaces, schools, howsoever, but for sure I saw the destruction as well in the capital. A lot is still very destroyed, and I met young people as well who say we are quite hopeless and we don't see a future in the region. We want to go abroad and mainly to Germany.
Is this a concern?
For sure it's a concern. It's a double concern. You know, I deal with the question of freedom of religion worldwide, and for sure I see when you are not present in the country where you are historically, we are in the diaspora, you can live there, but it's difficult to keep the traditions and at the end the religion. So from this side it's quite concerned. And for sure I have to say, although Germany welcomed a lot of people who had to suffer in the genocide, we are not prepared to welcome all Yazidi people from all over Iraq, because we have a very critical internal debate in Germany about migration as well.
It's been 10 years since the genocide, and yet you've seen the destruction in Sinjar today. But you know, in Europe, and also politicians always ask and want, they talk about Iraqi politicians, they want the Yazidis to go back to their stronghold, which is Sinjar. But what you've seen today, do you think the situation in Sinjar is quite good for all those people in the camps to go back and live there?
For sure it's not good enough. We met some people who went back from the camps, a few. And I know that then it's an ongoing debate. Some people go back, some people who went back to Sinjar went back now to the camps, because they see that it's not easy to live there and maybe it's impossible to live there. So I saw some good things, but for sure in general, 10 years after the genocide, we should see much better situation. And when I see all the destruction in Sinjar city, in Shingal city, then it's clear that a lot of people will not go back. So I really urge each and everyone, first for sure the governments who are responsible, the Iraqi government, we can help, but we cannot take the place of the government of Iraq to rebuild the situation. Without housing, housing is not everything, but without houses, people will not go back.
And this is an Iraqi matter, but yet it's also, I think, a matter of concern for Germany, because you met people today, young people, they say, we don't have hope, we want to go to Germany. And this means this is a concern for you. Of course, after you go back, you will report to the government with what you've seen, and you will suggest actions. I want to ask, what actions do you suggest to your government about this matter?
But it's not just about concerns, it's concerns as well, but we feel a kind of responsibility as well, for sure. If you have such a big number of Yazidi people in Germany, we found each and everyone we met today have a kind of relatives or friends in Germany. So it's a kind of responsibility, but for sure it's a concern as well that maybe some 100,000 people want to come to Germany as well, and this is very difficult in the internal debate in Germany. What I would recommend is for sure to proceed to go on with our diplomatic efforts with the government of the government in Iraq, but with the regional government in Kurdistan as well, to ask to improve the situation, each and everything, security, housing, the possibility to work in agriculture or whatsoever. And at the same time, we have some programs. I'm here to say that we will invest, it's not everything, but 15 million euro more. You can build 260 new houses with it and improve the water situation a little bit. That's something. And on the other hand, I think we have to understand the situation in Germany, what brings people to come to Germany to migrate. And we have a debate about bringing people back from Yazidi people back from Germany, and I know there are a lot of concerns here. They spoke about it, people spoke about it today, and I want to say that those people who came in the genocide time till 2017, they are secure in Germany, they will stay. Others we will try to keep in the country, but if people decide today to come, then they go through the normal asylum procedures we have in Germany, and since there is not the situation like 2015 or 16 anymore, a lot of people will not get the allowance to stay in Germany. Individual cases, yes, if you have traumata, women and girls who were raped or something like this, they have a chance, but in general, people will not get asylum. And so I have to ask them not to come, and Germany has to inform about it. We need a kind of campaign that people really understand the internal situation in Germany.
For a solution, there is the Sinjar agreement. I'm sure you are aware of it and in detail. Do you still think that this agreement, implementation of this agreement, is solution for Sinjar based on what you've seen today?
I know that there's a lot of criticism of the people, the Yazidi people, because they say we're not part of this agreement. On the other hand, this is the only thing we have in our hand. So there's a kind of agreement between Baghdad and Erbil about it. And I think we have to insist that the two governments do everything to improve. I understand the difficult situation here in the country. It's not easy in the regional situation with a lot of regional conflicts at the end to survive. But when I go to Baghdad, they say, the solution is in Kurdistan. When I'm here, they say the solution is in Baghdad. So there's a kind of game to say this is the other one responsible. This will not work at the end. And again, Germany has an interest. We are here with a diplomatic voice because we speak with independent countries or regional governments, but for sure our interest is that we find a solution that people see the future here in the region and not in Germany.
Even UN tried to implement that agreement, and the UN is part of that agreement, but yet it's not been implemented after years. Do you think that, you talk to Iraqi officials, Kurdish officials too, do you think that this agreement somehow was born dead?
I'm not here to decide at the end if it will work or not work. We see that it don't work today, and from the Yazidi perspective, they don't have hope. This is what I saw. They say we were not part of it, and a lot of things are not okay in the agreement, and we will not see that it will work. Finally, something they ask very much for is to have a kind of own security organized by Yazidi people, because they say, okay, we see all the soldiers and the policemen around, and the security situation today is okay, but we don't have trust that in a situation of a new confrontation, we are secure. We are just secure when we see that we have our own forces from our own people, and that this is very, very necessary to do.
In Germany, I was reading reports about Yazidi people who applied for asylum. Their cases in the courts was rejected, and those people say that our case, we are Yazidis, and already the Bundestag recognized the ISIS attack on Yazidis as genocide, and they want the government to negotiate with them. Is the federal government in Germany taking this into consideration, the case of Yazidi asylum seekers now in Germany, who their cases are rejected by the court?
At the end, the procedure is that first of all, the government decide not alone, not the government, not ministries. We have a special agency to deal with this question, and then it goes to the court. So, and then you just have the right of pardoning or something at the end. And I have a lot of cases where I try to support the people, because this would be very hard to push them away from Germany. But what we have to understand is that this decision from the parliament, very important decision from the parliament, where we say we want to see people, Yazidi people, safe all over the world and in Germany, that doesn't mean that you don't go through individual cases. This is a system in Germany, and we cannot say we take Yazidi people out of the procedures. This is not in the law. And if we would start it, where we would end, then Christians in the region would ask me as well, why you do it for Yazidi people? Why not for Christians? And we have people from all over the world, Rohingya in Myanmar, they will say why we don't have a special status for Rohingya. So this will not be the solution. The situation is, all the people who came between 2014 and 17, they stay in Germany forever if they want. And then, from then, we saw individual cases, and the number of people who are rejected is growing, because Germany says, okay, the situation is not fine. It's still bad, but it's not a situation of genocide where, for sure, it's not possible to live anymore here. And if you compare it with the situation all over the world, let's say in Sudan or wherever, if you say you give possibility to stay for each and everyone who comes to Germany, then we have to speak about other countries as well, and we are not able to deal with such a high number of refugees then.
Will they be deported?
At the end, yes. At the end, yes. If people, and I say today, very clear to them, if today or tomorrow you decide to go to Germany and you have not an individual case, again, if you have a traumata, if let's say they free the women, 2,600, 700 who are still somewhere under the control of terrorists, if they free them, for sure they would have an opportunity to come to Germany, maybe to go to hospital or whatever, and to stay. But people who live here under bad conditions, living conditions, but not in the danger of genocide or whatever, killing or whatsoever, they will go through normal procedures. And I think most of them will not have the right to stay, and they will be deported, yes.
Per your evaluation, do you consider the Yazidi community in Iraq safe and free?
No, for sure not. I fully understand that people feel that they live in a society, in a country where a lot of people don't welcome them, where there are spread rumors about them, their behavior, their kind of living, and howsoever. I can understand it, but to stay in Germany or to come to Germany means that you have a very direct situation where you are fleeing away from killing or from raping or things like this. And if you don't have this individual case, even when the situation is bad in the country to live, you will not have the right, because again, if you compare it with other parts of the world, because we need the same standards at the end. We cannot say, okay, these people we like more than others. If others came and asked for asylum, we have the same standards for them as well.
This is the case of the Yazidis and your evaluation for Yazidis here in Iraq. But Yazidis also exist in Turkey, for example, and other countries too. How do you evaluate the situation of the Yazidis in Turkey?
It is similar at the end. You know, we have a lot of numbers of people coming from Turkey last year. The third biggest number of refugees are coming from there. They wanted to run away from Mr. Erdogan's government.
Even Yazidis?
As well, yes. A lot of people from the southeast, but most of them don't get asylum as well. So the situation is not good. The political situation is very bad. But if you have a specific case that you criticize maybe the government or something like this, and then you are in a situation that you have to go to prison or to court, whatever, then you flee to Germany, you have a chance to stay. If you don't have this very specific situation, just to say there's a general danger, this is not enough.
Today you've seen people, you've seen Sinjar, and in next days you will see policymakers, leaders and officials in the Kurdistan region. I'm curious actually, when you meet leaders and officials, what's your main question to them after what you've seen?
My main question is, what are the next plans to do everything to better the situation for Yazidi people, and how you would implement agreements, how you would find compromises with Baghdad. I know I do it in a very difficult political situation where there are enough problems between Baghdad and Erbil. So, and now I come with my Yazidi question. I'm very aware of it. But on the other hand, I can make sure that Germany is very interested, and we really try to be a good partner, not saying what someone has to do. We cannot do it. No one comes to Germany to say you have to do this and this, but maybe we have some recommendations. We can say, let's do it together. We can support you there and there. But what is not very appropriate is when I go to one capital and they say the others are
so they blame each other?
This is a game sometimes. I understand it political. I'm politician enough, but for sure this is something where I say, come on, please say what you can do and not what you expect from the others.
Yeah, you understand politics, but maybe politics in Middle East work kind of differently compared to Europe. Regarding religious freedom in general in Iraq, how do you see it? I know it's your job. Yazidis is one of your focus, but you're commissioner for religious freedom. How do you see Iraq?
I was here in the last year already, and I met, I think, all of the different groups, even some Jewish people. I think there are just a few, Mandaeans, Zoroastria, all of them for sure Christians, and it's very impressive to meet all of them. And if I'm here, I'm always thinking about the Bible. You know, I'm a Christian, and about history, and it's so interesting because the civilization was growing up from here. And there is a danger that in this time we can lose it. We can lose it, and I met a lot of Christians as well, and they say, okay, we don't see that if things don't change, we don't see a future for us as well. For them personally, maybe, but I understand that in Mosul, we have not even 70 families now from 50,000 Christians before, and I don't see them now going back in this situation. And so on the paper, I see that the religious freedom is there in Iraq, but in reality, I have to say, it's difficult. And with what the country is doing, it looks like it's not enough, because it looks like that really religious minorities are up to leave the country. A few will stay, but it's not enough to have a really living tradition, and I think this is a very big value of this country. I'm really, really impressed, but I think the world and Iraq as well should have an interest to keep this in the country.
Before 2003, there are reports, estimations that the number of the Christian community in Iraq was about 1.5 million people. Now, after years, 2 decades, with the population growth, it's estimated that there are only 300,000 Christians living in Iraq. Mostly, like 90% of them, live in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Do you think that even the Christians in Iraq are under threat, their existence?
For sure, it's very similar at the end to the Yazidi people. So I meet a lot of people who are, some are very often traveling between Iraq and Germany. This is fine, but I see more and more people who try to find the future all over the world, but a lot of them in Germany as well, especially young people. Elderly people, they say, okay, no, we stay here for 60 years, 70 years, we had to suffer sometimes, we will stay here. But young people who have the whole life for them when they are 20, 23, 24, 25, they say, okay, to keep the tradition and the religion is very nice, and at the end you can keep it just really in the area, in the country where you come from. For sure, you have freedom of religion in Germany. You can build your own church. I went to churches, Syrian Orthodox, Syrian churches. We have them, but it's nothing in comparison when you see this kind of buildings here, this kind of tradition. And so, yeah, I'm concerned that we will lose this religion in the region as well.
The region where it started, and the whole history is here too. Yeah. I know it's sad to hear that. You know, these problems, they existed before, but after ISIS, these problems became bigger and bigger, and they are still problems unsolved. Do you see ISIS in this region as a threat yet?
So when I speak with Christians and Yazidi people, then they tell me that it was difficult before as well, and it was a kind of environment in which ISIS could grow. Now we beat them all together, military, but for sure the ideas are still there. People are still there, demobilized this time, but the ideas are still there. And maybe you know there was a murdering a few weeks ago, a few days ago in Germany, and it was someone, it looks like, was sent by ISIS at the end. So the ideas are still there, and we have still to do everything to keep them under control.
And the end of October, the mandate from the German Federal Parliament for the German troops in Iraq will end. Is there a will, political will from the government and in the parliament to extend that mandate for another year?
I hear the discussions here in Iraq about it, and I understand that the government want to limit the influence from outside. On the one hand, on the other hand, I think we need a kind of stabilization, and I think Germany is really a country who try to take responsibility without predicting in which direction a country should go. So we have an interest, we discuss with each other, and for sure Germany is prepared to proceed and to take all the responsibilities they can take in this country.
Is Iraq willing to accept that extent?
I'm not, it's not a part of the talks I have here now.
But in Germany, is there a will to extend that mandate?
Yes, in Germany for sure. We would like to do it, yeah.
You talked about the attack in Solingen, the German city, and the report says that this person, Isa, was sent by ISIS. What the government in Germany is doing to deal with extremism in Germany?
It's a good question. It's a similar debate we have all over the world, and we have here as well. We have a lot of people who spread bad ideas into people's brain, and we have a lot of hate speech as well. Each and everywhere we have a law, meanwhile, against hate speech in Germany, but it looks like that anyhow it can grow. What we are discussing is how we can have more influence on radicalization. So we closed one mosque who was under the influence of Iran very much in Germany, but at the end we didn't find the answer between, on the one hand, we are a country of human rights and of freedom, where you can express yourself. We don't limit people to express themselves. And on the other hand, for sure, we don't want to have hate speech and people who motivate other people to commit crimes.
Isn't it hard to distinguish between freedom of speech and hate speech or spreading extremism for you in Germany?
It's hard all over the world. And you know, we have some laws against hate speech. You can go to the court, but it's a not easy procedure. And the question is if social media is able or is willing to support us, like Mr. Musk with X, work different like Twitter before. With Twitter it was easier to go against hate speech. But it's a balance. It's always not very easy because there are some countries where I go and where I criticize that people cannot speak free. And then they take the German anti-hate speech law as an example to say, look, you're limited as well. So it's difficult to decide what is allowed, what is really hate speech, to bring people against each other, and what is really allowed. So it's not a very easy thing, and we are discussing it. Maybe with rising attacks, we will be more clear and more harsh on some rules.
Do you have a concern with the policy that Elon Musk is implementing with Twitter's boundaries? Is it a concern for you that it would be used to spread hate speech in Germany and extremism?
For sure, it's a concern. It's not just hate speech, it's a question of fake news as well. If you see what he even himself shared, what kind of nonsense, to be honest, sometimes very strange information. He has the monopoly at the end, in a way, on informations all over the world. So many people use X, I myself as well. We have always a debate in Germany if you use it, if I should use it anymore or not. But at the end you are quite dependent because you don't have very much other alternatives to inform yourself and to inform people, especially all over the world. I have used other social media in my constituency at home, but if I want to be in contact with people abroad in other countries, there's not really an alternative to X.
But what will the government will do about this? Because, for example, last week Brazil decided to ban X completely. I think maybe this is not possible, or maybe this is not the policy of the government in Germany, but this is also difficult. How will you deal with it?
So we are at the beginning of the debate. So it's more a kind of basis of the debate, a little bit more philosophical today. So we are far away to take decisions based on the law. If we want to change something, we need a law. But we know what is the danger as well, because I know that all this, even Telegram, where you have more bad things and fake news, is used by people who are working against regimes and dictatorships as well. So you can use it for both sides. And so we don't have a clear position as well on this, but we are discussing it because we have elections, federal elections next year, and we are afraid of some very bad campaigns, even financed and organized by countries who don't want to have it very good with us.
Coming back to ISIS, do you consider ISIS now a threat in Germany, not only in this region? Do you think ISIS now and its ideology, it's growing inside Europe and Germany, not only in this region of the world?
It's not yet. No, it's not now. It was already. We had Al Qaeda before and others as well, and we had a lot of attacks in Germany before as well. If it is growing, we have some demonstrations for a caliphate in Germany as well, with maybe around 1,000 people supporting it.
Calling for a caliphate?
Yes, we saw it on the street, but we don't see more attacks than 10 or 12 years ago. But we're in a way astonished that we have still this attack, because people in Germany thought, okay, where's ISIS? We don't see them anymore. We don't see the flags anymore here in the region. So they are beaten already, and now we have to learn what you know already, that the ideology is still there, and that there are structures somewhere as well.
Mr. Schwabe, 1,000 people demonstrating, asking for caliphate, supporting caliphate as a system in Germany. And this is, it's a freedom of speech. But do you have a vision that if such a protest takes place in Baghdad or in Damascus, the two capitals of two countries that ISIS emerged, how the government is going to deal with it?
I have an imagination, and I understand that the countries have a lot of experiences with extremism, and they try to prevent it, but
you allow it.
yeah, because we learn in our history that we want to be a free society with the possibility to demonstrate, but to be honest, we have a discussion about it as well. And we didn't allow everything. So there was police restrictions that they could not show some flags or something. So there were restrictions as well, but we are in an ongoing debate, and maybe we just start to understand the situation and the challenge we have.
I think you don't see flags, but the ideas are there, and it's a philosophical debate actually. Where is the freedom, and there's lots of political correctness in Europe also involved in that. So I think it's not easy to deal with it politically, but in Middle East they do that easily. I don't know, will you take that as a model or not from Middle East? After the attack in Germany, we see more politicians in Germany calling for deportation of immigration, especially to Syria. And they say, okay, if there are parts of Syria where it's stable and safe, so we should be allowed to deport people. Is the government taking this into consideration after the recent attack?
The first condition is to deport people is to know where you bring the people. And maybe I don't want to go too much into detail with Iraq, but if there is no flight, then you cannot deport people. And if you have no contact with the Syrian regime, government, or with the one in Afghanistan, then it's difficult just for procedural reasons to do so. What we did now is that we brought through the help of other countries, some 28 people who commit crimes back to Afghanistan. This is what happened. And maybe in future we will do it with Syrians as well. But if people really are in Germany already, it's very difficult to deport people. You can do it with some numbers, with some thousands of people each year, but the capacity is not really much bigger. Because of this, we discuss other rules. We discuss if the asylum seekers have to apply for asylum not in Europe, but maybe in a country outside Europe. And just if they get asylum, then they are allowed to come to Europe and at the end to Germany. I think this will be more productive at the end than to deport people. But again, if people come to Germany, they have to know that if there is not a reason, if there's not a clear reason for asylum, just to say I'm from a country where the situation is bad, this is not enough, because if we would say this is we accept it, then we have to accept from 50 countries all over the world, each and every one, and this is not possible.
Mr. Schwabe, your political party, the CDU, is a Volksparty, party of people.
I'm a social democrat.
A social democrat,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm so sorry for that. So, and now, in the recent election, we see the far right, the alternative, are gaining more votes in a region that they never had those votes since the World War II. This is news all over the world now. It happened in Germany, I read it here in Europe. Do you think the policies you have in place now in Germany is not working and it takes away votes from you? It's not functional.
I don't like to see rising right populism, right extremism.
Yeah, I
Germany.
know that.
I don't like it, but...
You don't like it, but the reason is, sorry for my question, but
yeah.
Some people who voted for you
Yeah.
are not voting for you anymore.
Yeah.
So you should do something about it. So do you think that the policies you had in the recent 10 years, for example, dealing with migration, which is one of the rhetorics of the far right, and dealing with the problems in this region of the world, it's not functional anymore? You have the science on the ground, facts.
So the question of migration is driving this and is pushing the right extremism.
One of the drivers.
Yeah, but I'm very sure even when there would not be any migration to Germany, and the world without migration don't exist, and we need migration. If we would not have migration in the past, we'd have a lot of economic problems to face. Even if there would not be any migration, we would see a kind of rising of right populism and left populism, to be honest, in a way as well. Why? Because people feel more insecure in the society, because the society was very much structured before. You had not so much opportunities, but you had less risks. I could speak lengthy, I think you don't want it, about my history. I come from a coal mining family. My father was a coal miner, and if I would be 5 years younger, I would become a coal miner maybe as well, because each and everyone in my generation, or 5 years before, became a coal miner. It was a hard work, very hard work. It was very clear, if you grow up where you end, you go to coal mining, you marry a wife from the next street, you get children, and it's fine. I had more opportunities, but you have more risk as well. You don't know what happened, what is the job you get, how it works with the pension system, and this makes people insecure. And this together, for sure, combined with migration, where people come from other parts of the world and bring some other risks and challenges, this makes people insecure. And in the past they know, but anyhow they knew what to vote for. Social Democrats in industrialized regions, Christian Democrats in more rural regions, and today it's very, very open. In this situation, people decided in different ways. And at the end I saw the title in Germany, right extremists were successful. Yes, it was the biggest party in 2 of the 16 so-called Bundesländer in Germany, in 2 quite small ones. And they have 30 plus, but they will not be able to build the government. So I'm concerned, but on the other hand, we should not give the impression that everything is lost. And we have a similar situation in Netherlands, in Austria now we have elections, in Italy, in France. Nothing I like, but I think it's a little bit a result of this new insecurity in a world of new chances. And so we have to fight against it, we have to deal with it, we have to speak with people that it's not the right decision to go this way, but it's a reality now.
So my last question, do you agree that these domestic problems in Germany and politics and everything, actually it is, when you look at it, you see it as domestic problems within the border of Germany, but on the other hand, it's not domestic. It's related to Sinjar, it's related to Iraq, it's related to Syria. And do you think the actions taken by your government in the past decade or 2 decades now it's making problems for you? Everything with Middle East wars, supporting, even Germany supported Saddam Hussein. German companies sold chemicals to Saddam Hussein and Kurds were bombed with those chemicals. Do you think these actions led to part of the problems that you deal with it in your country today?
Not directly, I would say, although for sure it was wrong. I'm someone who tried to implement laws in Germany that companies take responsibility for their work abroad, for their trade abroad, where we pay a little bit the price is that we were in a phase of migration when we had civil wars each and everywhere, that we were quite open to it. So we allowed people to come. And for sure, in this situation, a lot of very good people come. The people fleeing away from ISIS came to Germany, but some people, a few, who have this ideology of ISIS came as well. And this is really not a very easy situation now. The strange thing is that those people who are against migration, at the same time, the parties who are against migration, at the same time, they are against that we work abroad with the possibilities we have. I think we have a big interest that the region is very stable, because if not, people will move and we can build the biggest walls. People will at the end be able to come. And so this is one mission as well. I'm here to support Yazidi people, Christians, the whole country, each and everyone in the country, other minorities. But for sure, I will bring back the information to Germany as well to say, let's not stop caring and dealing with other parts of the world. We should not do what maybe Mr. Trump wants to do in the United States, to say, okay, we look just into our country, we deal with our problems in the country, and we don't care what happens outside.
Yeah, I think German people are, I think the people in the world, if no one understands that walls is not the solution, German people understand that, because one day there was a wall between East and West and it didn't work. So thank you very much, Mr. Frank Schwabe, for this opportunity. I know that I took more time, but it was a pleasure to
Thank you very much.